Hello, everyone, and welcome to FranTastic InSights. I love sharing with you the inside information from some of the most innovative entrepreneurs and trailblazers in the industry. I'm so excited because the brand I have with us today is just that. So, my name is Joan Winchester. I'm the Senior Vice President of Franchise Expansion for FranServe. FranServe is the world's largest franchise consulting organization. And our mission, quite simply, is to help change people's lives through franchise ownership. And we do that through working with a great group of franchise consultants, top professionals in their industry, as well as top franchise brands. And then, of course, the clients that make it all possible. So today I'm super excited to have with us one of the top home services brands, Floor Coverings International. And we are so fortunate because with us today, he's not easy to get, but he's here with us today, and that's Albert Hermans. And Albert is the Chief Development Officer for Floor Coverings International. So, hey, welcome, Albert.
Joan, pleasure to be here. And there's no place I'd rather be, to be quite honest with you.
Well, you're very sweet. You're very sweet. So, Albert, I know you have great experience. And if you wouldn't mind sharing with our audience a little bit about your background, and then what made you choose Floor Coverings International as the brand to hang your hat?
That's a great question. And I will say to you, my experience is a bit different than folks that are investigating franchise opportunities because people investigating franchise opportunities traditionally are likely looking to leave their 9 to 5 in the corporate career to then strike it out on their own. And I did the opposite in my career. So I started my first business in college. So I was just I'm entrepreneurial blooded in a sense. Now, not that my parents either are entrepreneurs, but while I was in college, I knew I had to do something different. So I started a business. I actually technically committed fraud to start this particular business because I took a Sally Mae loan out. I told Sally Mae I was taking summer classes, and I started a business. Now she got paid back, so I don't have any qualms about sharing this publicly. But started my first business in college. I sold it a couple years after I graduated, and it was the second business that I launched from the ground floor with a partner. It was how I got started into franchising. So I started a single location of a group-led fitness business from concept. Location one, drafted the disclosure documents, got all the paperwork done, training programs for new franchise owners, et cetera. And we grew to about 60 locations when 10 years ago, to answer your question, the second part of your question, 10 years ago, I was looking for my next thing. And I found Floor Coverings International. Now, what was I looking for 10 years ago that led me here and that's gotten me here, stay here for 10 years, which I feel like nobody stays anywhere for 10 years. I feel like I'm a younger guy, but like I'm feeling like I'm a little long in the tooth. And there were two things at the time that I was really looking for. The first thing was I wanted to join an organization that had chops, had some gray hair, had some experience, because I knew I was younger in my career and I knew I was, fairly entrepreneurial minded. And I want to go learn from people that have done it, been there before. And so that was the first checkbox. I'll tell you what I found. The second checkbox that I had was I also wanted a steep growth trajectory because I get bored. And so as it relates to those two things in Floor Coverings International, we're owned by a publicly traded company. That same publicly traded company owns other home services brands that people are probably really familiar with, like California Closets and CertaPro Painters, Paul Davis Restoration. So these are some of the brands that are on the Mount Rushmore of home improvement franchising. As a matter of fact, our CEO, his name is Tom. Tom was a co-founder at CertaPro Painters, largest painting company in North America. So I saw chops and gray hair. I said, awesome, checkbox number one. That's it. And in the growth trajectory, I saw a brand in Floor Coverings International that's the youngest brand of the bunch that I had just mentioned in the single biggest industry, the flooring industry. So I saw a ton of opportunity. So 10 years later, the thing that's got me here, and I'm going to stop talking because I can go all day. But 10 years later, the thing that's got me here, still here, is something that I would never have early in my career put a ton of stock into, but I've learned how important it is the people. And not just the people that I work with in the corporate team. It's the collective, everybody that wears this logo, from the franchise owners to their teams to our corporate team. It's a tremendous group of people that I wouldn't want to surround myself with anybody different.
Yeah, and Albert, I know the leadership at Floor Coverings International is really strong. Can you talk about that for just a minute?
Yeah, I've been around for 10 years and I'm still one of the newer guys in the block on our team. And so we've got an executive team that has been in franchising for 20, 30 plus years almost entirely. Our COO and our CEO and our CIO all have worked together since 2006. Our CMO comes from the Home Depot, so we're in the flooring industry, so that experience is super relevant. And again, I'm certainly on the executive team, and I certainly lead a lot of our programming here. And I've been around for 10 years, but certainly, even that 10-year number, which I believe is a long time, still as compared to some of the other folks, I'm a bit newer.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. What a great longevity and tenure.
Yeah, that
So,
tells you something, right? When you see a company that there are people who
yeah.
have been around for a long time, there's not constantly people changing. It tells you something.
So, Albert, can you share with our audience a little bit about the unique differentiators with Floor Coverings International?
Absolutely, yes. And if you don't mind, Joe, could I set the backdrop for the answer to the question to tell you about the industry first?
Sure, absolutely.
Because in order to really understand how we're different and how we're, separate ourselves from the pack, to have the context for what is the industry, because at first glance, people when they first are investigating franchise opportunities, and there's, lots of exciting things, um, flooring's not always the first thing that they would call the most exciting. Some people say flooring's not sexy, but what I've found is it's actually very sexy. It's a great business to be in because it's an industry that's never going anywhere. It's huge. Like there's never a shortage of flooring jobs that can go get done. It's $116 billion annually. Um, it's widely fragmented, so there's not a dominant player in the marketplace. Home Depot and Lowe's combined. People say, how do you compete against Home Depot and Lowe's? They have 7% of the market. So it's like they're not even dominators in the industry. Um, and then the industry also is traditionally retail. So people generally, when they shop for floors, they're going into a retail showroom type of thing, in and out of the fluorescent lights. And then last but not least, the industry dominated. The core consumer is Mrs. Jones. It's the female homeowner, but the purchasing decisions is dominated by the female. But the industry, if you think about flooring, you would just think of a male-dominated industry in terms of who works in it and things of that nature. So that's the flooring industry. And we saw this industry as an opportunity to kind of disrupt it. And the way that we disrupt the flooring industry, and the way you disrupt anything, is by doing things that are a little counterintuitive, but directed towards the consumer and easing the purchase. And that's what we've done. So our core differentiators, there's three of them. Um, the first one being is that we're a mobile business, shop at home business in what's traditionally a retail industry. So we have and our franchise owners and their sales teams drive around a fleet of mobile flooring showrooms. They're custom outfit vehicles that have over 3,000 SKUs of sampling inside of the vehicle so that their end consumer can shop in the lighting of their own home. They have somebody that's guiding them on that decision inside their home. And then certainly from a business owner perspective, low overhead to scale, it's a vehicle lease, and customers make decisions faster when you're right in front of them. So it helps our closing ratios and things like that. So um, that's the first big differentiator. The second big differentiator comes to the installation piece, and ultimately how clients are satisfied and become raving fans of our brand is because how we do this particular part differently. And traditionally, again, you go to a box store or what have you to do flooring in your house, it's a very disjointed process. And what I mean by that is you're purchasing the materials and talking to a certain person. The different person comes out to measure the house. A different person calls you to schedule the installation. And then a crew shows up that you don't even know from a hole in the wall. And they're going to install these floors and do a major construction project in your house. By virtue of us being a locally owned and operated business where the franchise owner as the operator is either themselves or has their team inside the customer's homes up front, we're able to land the sale up front. We're able to look inside the customer's house and identify all the different things that go on in a home. We're going to measure. All that stuff happens up front. That same local office is managing those subcontracted installers throughout. So the game of telephone doesn't really exist because we're bottling all up. Now, the thing that's led us to is we've become the number one rated flooring company in North America by Net Promoter Score standards or customer satisfaction. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to the podcast and you have no idea what I'm talking about, um, put into Chat GPT what is Net Promoter Score, and then put in what is Floor Coverings International Net Promoter Score. It's going to tell you it's in the 80s, which is world class. Then what is the flooring industry Net Promoter Score? And you're going to find it's like in the 30s. People generally don't love getting construction done in their house, but they love working with us. And the last thing, the third leg of the stool in terms of how we differentiate is by virtue of us being owned by a publicly traded company, like I mentioned before, we have unique relationships with the suppliers, people that sell the carpet, the hardwood, manufacture the carpet, the hardwood, the tile. So our pricing for materials is on the same tier as Home Depot and Lowe's. So what
Mm.
we're able to provide to the end consumer is a white glove experience from shopping through installation for the price of the field. And that's also why our tagline is the stars of flooring.
Yeah, I love that. And I've actually had Floor Coverings International at my home, and I can actually validate everything that you've said.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. And it was actually really super cool because it was a female franchisee,
Exactly right.
which,
Yeah, and
yeah, was even that much more special in terms of my comfort level having her in my home. So super
absolutely
cool.
yes.
So tell us a little bit about the qualities, okay, that you look for in a franchise owner and who's the ideal candidate.
Yeah, so we're looking for people that want to build large businesses. So very specifically, we want all of our franchise owners to be in the multi-million dollar revenue range. And in order to achieve that, the qualities that we really need to see out of a potential franchise owner here at Floor Coverings International, a preference to lead. So they get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing people that work for them perform and succeed. They like building company culture. They've hired and fired before. Like that's the first big thing. Um, and then the second big thing is they've got to love being around people. We work with people inside of homes every day, and we're meeting all the intimacies of people inside their homes, their kids, their pets, and things of that nature. So the person that really might have leadership skills but must be behind a computer screen all day might not be a great fit. But the person that's got leadership skills and then wants to be out interacting with their community, interacting with their customers, that's really the person that we would love to meet.
So, how about veterans? Do you offer any special incentives for veterans?
Absolutely, yes, yes. So we are part of a vet fran program. Our franchise fee is discounted by 10% for veterans. Obviously, not only do we love veterans for all the reasons why franchise owners or franchise organizations love to work with veterans, their leadership qualities and their commitment and things of that nature, but we also just have a penchant for those who have sacrificed for our freedoms. And so we want to be able to give back for those who have served our country. So absolutely, yes.
Great, thank you for that. So, Albert, can you tell me a little bit about the training and the support?
Yeah. So I think anybody who's going to come on, a podcast and have an interview about their franchise brand is going to say how great their training is, and every franchisor tells you their training is great. And so I think the cliche thing for me to just say is that training's awesome. But the reality is, our training is not just training, and I think a lot of franchise brands do have good training. We don't have training. We have an entire curriculum. And what I mean by that is a lot
Mhm.
of franchise brands will say, hey, come to our week of training and then get out there and conquer the world. What we found is that, and again, we've been owned by a publicly traded company, been franchising for 30 years, so we've made a lot of mistakes that we've learned from. And what we found is that singular week of training or that only initial training, people don't learn, kind of all up front, read the whole book and then you know everything. You have to learn what you need to learn initially, then you have to go have some experience, then you need to learn some more, then you have to have some experience, and you need to be coached along the way. And so we have a defined, literally first 18 months from signing the franchise agreement in pre-opening, and then the first 12 months in business. But it's a defined roughly 18 months of design curriculum that gets somebody through their initial learning curve of, hey, I don't know what the flooring industry is. I don't know the difference between hardwood and laminate, for instance, which, by the way, it's not rocket science. It's not hard for people to learn. But anyway, you don't know the basics of the industry. You don't know how to measure a flooring job. But then you've got to learn, okay, well, then how do I sell the products and services? Then how do I bring people into my business? How do I lead those people? How do I create systems inside the business to, track the proper metrics? But you can't train it all in a week, and you have to
Right.
graduate the learning. And that's what I think we really do differently. And it's really well received by our franchise owners.
So, what about the timeline to open?
Yeah, so timeline to open really is, it could be, I give you the longer end window a second ago. I said, 6 months was the estimate you might have heard if you read through my math. But that's longer term if somebody's, winding down their existing job and then they, want to take their time going through their funding process or what have you. That's kind of the longer. The kind of more normal time from signing agreement to opening is about 90 days. That's more normal. It could be as short as 60, but I want to be realistic with the listeners. It's about 90 days, which still in the grand scheme of things is short. I mean, I mentioned I came from the fitness industry, and so in order to build out a gym and get it open, I mean, between leases and equipment and whatever else, that could be a year. So 90 days from signing to open and generating revenue.
So, tell me about the ideal markets and the areas that you're looking to grow.
So the ideal market is really anywhere where there are homes and floors. So like that's the good thing about this industry as well. No matter what the market is, there's going to be remodeling going on, there's going to be construction going on, and people are going to have fires and floods that need to have their floors replaced because of the insurance companies writing a check. So the ideal markets for us is really where, going back to what I said before, is in terms of the ideal candidate. We wanted leadership skills and we wanted customer facing, client facing. So it's markets where the potential franchise owner is comfortable being client facing. We've got people in dense Chicago, but they're from there. They know the city, doing fantastic. And then I've got a franchise owner in Kingman, Arizona, which if you don't know where that is, just do a Google Map search. They've got tumbleweeds and like saloon doors that open like this. And they're all both doing well, equally as well. So that's the great thing is that market really, we're going to make sure that the markets are able to support a great business because there are floors everywhere. Now, the markets that we're looking for, as much as we're a mature franchise brand around for 30 years, 300 locations, we do have territory availability. When we get inquiries, whether it's from people going to our website or it's rather from a great consultant at FranServe saying, hey, is there availability? Roughly 70% of the time, actually, it's not roughly, it is over 70% of the time. I think it was 73 last time I did the math, percent of the time, the territory is available. And so there's availability essentially everywhere. The only markets right now where I'd say we don't have availability, unfortunately, if you're listening and really excited, but you're in Las Vegas, we do not have availability currently in Las Vegas. And then the other market that we don't have availability would be Charlotte at the moment. But everywhere else, we'd love to speak to you.
Great. Thank you for that, Albert.
Yeah.
So at FranServe, we love franchising, obviously. I mean, and we actually trademarked our tagline, right? Franchising is our superpower. I mean, what could be more rewarding than helping change people's lives through franchise ownership? I mean, many people think about it, right? But about being their own boss, but franchising actually can make it a reality. So, can you tell our audience a little bit about the lifestyle of a Floor Coverings International franchisee and what that looks like?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. And I think for most businesses, the answer is similar. When you're the owner of the business, your input equals your output and you get to dictate your lifestyle. Now, I think even more so with this particular type of business versus, like, again, I come from the fitness world, the brick and mortar. Like, we wanted our franchise owners in brick and mortar fitness to be there because you never know when somebody's going to open that front door. Whereas in this particular business, when it's by appointment, you're going to people's homes. The calendar is very much dictated by the franchise owner. Now, therefore, their business gives them the ability to go on vacation or not take appointments after a certain time and a certain day. Now, with that said, so that's the everything answer. And it can be anything for certain people, but typically what we see is our franchise owners, they kick off their day in the morning with their teams. And so that, because the franchise owner is not installing the floors, so they've got the teams kick off the day. And then some days are got customer appointments, some days they're making networking connections, but they're able to dictate based upon what they've got going on in their personal life, when and how they get those meetings complete. And so that's certainly the initial first 2 or 3 years. But then as the teams are built out, our largest franchise owner, who's in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I live in Freehold, New Jersey, so he's not too far from me. He's about to go on a 3-week vacation to Greece, and his business is going to continue to run really well. So you got to build that team out to get there, but it's certainly possible.
Great. Well, Albert, thank you for sharing your story and some inside information about Floor Coverings International with us today. I just want to ask you any last thoughts before we wrap up this fantastic insight.
Well, if you're listening to the call, it would probably mean that you are interested in franchising. You have lots of other videos you could have watched, but you chose Floor Coverings International, so it probably means you're interested in franchising, and the home services might have you interested. You might, running a home improvement business might be something you might be interested in. And if that's the case, I'll tell you that in home services franchising, I will, take this to my grave, and I believe it with every fiber of my being. There's no reason to look at any other brand. And certainly, if you're not entertaining a conversation with us, I'd say you might be missing a boat. And I'll give you a couple of reasons. First and foremost, in any home services business, you're going to have to, you're not going to be doing the painting or the countertops or whatever else, or the flooring. You're going to have teams that do it. In the flooring industry, we have our teams of installers are professionals. They're not day labor, um, and they're subcontracted, so you're only paying them when work gets done. And because it's a high average ticket, the floor as compared to paint, you don't need as many, so it's not as labor intensive, and you're constantly managing labor. I have a friend of mine that owns a window cleaning business, and that's all he does. He's got 30 window cleaners constantly managing those people. So if you're interested in home services, flooring's great because of the labor intensity. The high average ticket, got a high average ticket. I'd rather be doing 2 or 3 floors a week than 1,000 window cleanings, like I just mentioned. Um, and the brand itself, we are at the stage in our growth where we've got a little bit of the best of both worlds. We're a mature brand, so the technology, the system, the training I talked about, like they're all world class, but we still have a lot of available territory and runway for growth. So this youthful energy is still there. So again, if you're looking at home services and you're clicked on the video to watch it and you're not entertaining us, I'll tell you, you're missing the boat. So definitely reach out through one of the fantastic FranServe consultants so that we could have a great conversation.
Thank you, Albert. Thanks for being with us today.
It's a pleasure, Joan. Thank you so much.